So today we're taking a look at this. It's very exciting. This is created by Robin Hartley. He contacted me and said he'd been inspired to look up USB HID devices after a couple of videos I made. Now, it's very clear from looking at this that he didn't take inspiration on the looks from mine, because mine all look shit. And his looks really, really awesome. He sent me a kit to make. So in the fine traditions of the David J. Watts channel, I'm going to struggle to put the thing together, and you will see very shortly. So I'll let you watch that. So here it is. It's beautiful, isn't it? I've got a little note from Robin, so I'm just going to show you that. He says, "Hi David, just a quick note to say massive thank you for building one of these keypads. As I mentioned, your videos introduced me to the HID library. Something about being of an inspiration, naturally." I'm kidding. It's really nice that he sent this. He's provided me with build instructions on a USB. It comes with this 3D printed box. I can see that he was probably using, is that maybe blue painter's tape marks there? I'm not sure. There's sort of a line down the middle, so I'm going to guess that's the line between his blue painter's tape. But it's nicely 3D printed. It looks like it's a 0.1 line height thing on the print there. So let's just take this board out. So this board is where the keycaps go. Keycaps, actually, the switches. You can see them in this bag here. Actually, let's take those out and I'll show you what one of them looks like. Just pour it all out. It'll look nice in these bags on the desk anyway. And then we've got the microcontroller in here. So we've got, before I do all of that, let's run through the parts that are included. So we've got some Cherry MX Brown switches. They're fairly soft, but they give a click, and they'll be soldered into the board there. And they've got some pins on the end. Now, he did mention that some of them might get bent over. Let me see if I can show you. So yeah, you can see that one's slightly bent over, and that's just because it's been in a bag with other ones, but it's no problem just to push it back out again, so it's fine. Then we've got the microcontroller. This is a Pro Micro. Lovely little form factor. I haven't actually seen one of these, so I might pick some up. And that has the ATmega32U4 chip on there, which acts as a USB HID device, or can do, because it has its own USB comms built in. We've also got I can't read the number unfortunately, but it's a little, I think it's a microchip EEPROM. And we've got some guides here as well. These are 3D printed too. You can see, if I just pull one of these off, if I can. So these are 3D printed guides, and these pin headers, they slot in like that. And that's just to allow for easier soldering. And then again, we've got one for the EEPROM just here. So those are really cool. And keycaps as well. I thought he might have 3D printed these, but they're not 3D printed. So they'll probably be a lot more hard wearing than 3D printed ones. I've 3D printed some of my own in the past, and they haven't been great. They've been quite rough to the touch. But that is the nature of 3D printing. You don't really get smooth results unless you process it in some way. So let's just take this out. I'll just unscrew that with my finger for the last one. So he's obviously got some pillar mounts in here to screw into. We'll be able to see these properly. So these will be self-tapping screws, I imagine. It's a nice board. It looks like it was probably made, is that maybe seed? Oh. Yeah, look, we've got some nice pillars there. This is well made. I like these supports here to hold the PCB down, and you can probably see there's a hole just down here. That looks like where the USB is going to go through, so that's going to get mounted upside down in that direction, I think. So it will sit like that with that mounted underneath, it looks like. So like that, I think. I might just quickly go away and have a little look at the instructions just to make sure I know what I'm doing. Right, so I've just been away because I wanted to make sure I was doing this right. So you start off with the board with the silkscreen facing down like that, And then we take our 3D printed guides and these pin headers and we pop them on to the pin headers. So long portion goes into the pin header like that. I did it the wrong way around on this one, so I'm gonna have to redo that. He did already send them with the pin headers in, and so what I really should have done is just paid attention to that, but I didn't. So the long side is up and we're putting the short side, it's not really a massive amount of difference between them, but the short side is going into the board, and the same with this one. So we've got the short side here and the long side, which you'll be able to see when I take it out. The long side is on the bottom, so just pop that in and then pop that down like that. There we go. And then we're going to flip that over and hope they don't all fall out. Okay, good. It didn't. It's fine. Now I've got some blue tack here. That isn't in the instructions, Robin, so maybe you should have put that in there. But we'll just use that blue tack just to hold this board steady, and then I will grab the soldering iron and we can start soldering. Now I don't imagine I'll need to use flux because this is a very clean board, but I'm going to use some anyway, just because it's there. And it'll probably dry out by the time I get around to doing these anyway, but screw it, we're going for it. I'm super excited about seeing this thing in action, and the keys, I love clicky keys. I bought myself a clicky keyboard actually recently. Really enjoying using that. It's great for programming. Well, it's got nice, obviously tactile feedback, which is really handy when you're just sort of mashing away on a computer game, or if you're coding, it's quite nice to get that tactile feedback. I should be really wearing some glasses so I can see what's going on. So it's not a Sunday today, so this isn't like a lazy Sunday thing. It is actually, is it Monday? It's Monday. I've got the week off work. I'm not really doing an awful lot apart from YouTube videos, so I've got several coming up. But this is by far the most exciting, I think. So I haven't had many people say that their videos have inspired them to do something, but to do a Kickstarter project is pretty darn awesome. So I'm very impressed. Again, the link is in the description below, so feel free to go and take a look. I'm sure he'd really appreciate it. I think there is about 2 weeks left. And he's got a very reasonable goal, so it's well worth going to check out. And if you look on there, I think he says he's going to open source the code and everything eventually, so well worth looking. Right, that is one of them done. So a little inspection of that. That looks okay. I haven't skimped too much on any of those, have I? Well, I have actually. I can still see a little bit of gold over here. Are there any other ones? Yeah, there are. This is, I've just been a bit stingy on the solder on a couple of these. There we go, that looks okay. Right, now we've got this one up here to do. This is the place where the EEPROM chip's going to go. Now, I don't know how the programming works, so I'm going to make a couple of guesses here. We've got an EEPROM chip on board, but actually we've got quite a lot of code space on this chip, so I'm going to guess he's storing the variables that you're going to use for each one of these keys on that EEPROM. So the commands that you're going to use. Because I suppose I made that USB volume control ages and ages ago, which wasn't a complex project, but that had several functions in it. So one of them was getting rid of all your windows, so it would minimize every window. I don't know why anyone would want that feature. So I have that at work. Let's see, did I do that okay? Yeah, that was relatively quick, wasn't it? And it had volume, and it also had a mute function on there. So I stored all of those abilities inside memory, but if you've got an awful lot, and he's got a lot of keys on here, how many are there? Let's see. He did put a, he gave me a picture of what it should look like. So hopefully that's what mine will look like. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 keys. That's 12 different things. And as I understand it, the software lets you set what you want it to do. So it could be quite a few things. So it might need a bit more memory. Now the next step is to pop in the switches. So let's get rid of these 3D printed holders now that they've kept those pin headers in alignment, which is good. Now we need these switches. Now I just need to make sure that all these pins are straight, and if they are, then we can start popping them in. But some of them might have gotten bent in the post, who knows. Okay, let's start popping them in, shall we? So they go on the top side of this board, and they only go in one way. So they only go in this orientation there, I think, yeah. And they've got a little pillar there that you sort of push into the board and it holds it steady. So that's nice that he's actually managed to design this board so it was very accurate like that. That's good. So that they press fit in. Oh, they're going to hold really nicely for soldering, that's good. So it's sort of a bit like, you know those external number pads that you used to be able to get? I don't know if you still can get those, you might be able to. But it is a little bit like having that, but a programmable version. Now, it might be that you could hack one of those things, but this one just certainly looks a lot nicer. And you can program it at will. It has a little microcontroller in there. I would be devastated if I managed to pull a David Watts on this and ruin it somehow. Actually, let's not call it pull a David Watts. That's definitely not what I want anything to be called ever. Besides, it's not a live stream, so nothing can go wrong. I can just change everything in post. There we go, right. Look at that. Oh, that's quite fun. We're ready to solder these things in now. Right, I think I still might use a little bit of Blu Tack just to hold this in place so it doesn't move around too much. But it feels very stable, so I don't really think it's absolutely necessary, but still a little bit. Never hurt anybody, did it? So we've got, I've got to be careful not to solder the plastic bits that are poking through those other holes. It could be easy to do that. Bit of flux? Yeah, let's do a bit of flux, we might as well. I've zoomed in a little bit just to give you a nicer view. I mean, maybe soldering those plastic bits would actually melt it onto the board a bit. Maybe that would be a good thing, but I'm not going to. I'm going to fast forward through the rest of these bits so that you don't have to watch me solder everything. Right, then we've got the last one just down here. I didn't want you to miss out on the last one. I felt I'd been quite stingy on the previous ones and now flowing a lot more solder on. There we go, they look a lot nicer now. I've sort of tidied a few of them up. And I just realised that if I'd have not read the instructions and done this a different way, there's no way I would have been able to solder those pin headers in at all. Right, so next up, we've got to solder on the Pro Micro. I really love this thing already. And we still need to use these pin header things. So I'm going to pop this one on. There's a little recessed section here. Difficult to see really, but there's actually a small lip there. And that's to allow space for the components on the board. And so we're going to pop it in this way. I didn't even need to take these off before, I guess, but I did. And now I've got to struggle and put them back on. Ouch. There we go. That one's back on. And so we're going to flip that over and pop it on the top. And then we've got some pins that I can feel on the top there, so there is enough space to solder. And we also need to do something similar with this, but I think I need to solder on the EEPROM first, but we'll just go ahead and I think we'll solder that one on. You know, I would have thought after years of making mistakes now that I'd be done. But really, I'm sure I read somewhere or watched a video, someone said something about Thomas Edison. Oh no, I was watching FranLab actually, and she was talking about Thomas Edison, how he had tried hundreds of different ways of creating a light bulb, and a reporter had asked him, so you failed hundreds of times, and Edison purportedly replied that no, he now knows hundreds of different ways not to make a light bulb. And I guess that's how I like to view my failures, in a nicer light. So these are going on fairly well. There isn't an awful lot here to solder onto, but you don't need an awful lot. I'm just sort of filling those gaps, the holes in there, letting the solder flow through. Because they're through-hole plated, then there's actually plenty of contact. I've left a bit too much of a dome there, but I don't suppose it matters too much. There we are. That looks good. Now, the next thing we need to do is solder on the EEPROM chip. Now, I'm going to have to really figure out which way around that goes. All right, let's solder this bad boy in. Bad boy. I remember saying that I would never say that again. Right, I'm being fairly stingy on these, but don't suppose it matters too much. It is coming away from the blue tack slightly. It's held in place now though, so it's fine. There we go. Now I need to just refer to the instructions to find out what the orientation is on here. Is it just going to slot in that way, or does it go that way, or is it even that way? I'll come back and tell you. So Robin's instructions have saved me yet again. So he's given me a PDF, and I'm sure that's what he's going to give out to people that pick the kit up. But you pop the 3D printed guide on top, just like we did with the Pro Micro there. And then this chip, it's got the little nibble on the front. I'm not sure what they're actually called, but it indicates pin 1. So maybe it's just called the pin 1 indicator. I'm just going to call it, it's been nibbled at the front. And so that one has to point forwards like that. And that is it. And we can leave that 3D printed thingy on there. Just push that in. There we go. And again, we've not got a lot to work with, but we're just essentially filling the hole in there. So let's solder that up. Actually, I think flux for this scenario is probably quite good because it's going to help it flow down. There we go. That's it done. So that should be all of our soldering done now. I don't think there's anything left to do. We can actually put it into the box. So let's see which way. This way, to make sure that that USB pokes out the bottom. It does. And then we just need to screw it in. Luckily, I've got a magnetic screwdriver, otherwise I'd have all kinds of fun fishing it out from the bottom of that. Oh, Mayday. Almost. Hang on a minute. No, that looks okay. Let's just check. I think this one looks a little bit wobbly to me. Does it look like it's misaligned? Let's put another key in. Oh, I should probably refer to the picture. Let's refer to the picture. So the picture says that we've got white, green, okay, green in an upside down Tetris piece. There we go. So red goes along the bottom. One there. One there. One there. There. Oh no, not one there. Ah, don't look, Robin. I've done messed up. Oh my God. Okay. I've done messed up, Robin. This would be the ideal time to put a cut in the video, David, so that no one knows you've done this. Yeah, sure would. Very carefully. Just put that back in place. There we go. Look. Whew. That was a close one. Okay, so the hardest thing I find about Robin's kit is putting the keycaps on in the right order. I've even got a picture to help me. But now I know how to put these things back together, which is good. So if anyone needs that bit of knowledge, then just hit me up. So that one is red. And then these next three here are green. That one is slightly wonky, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. That looks exactly like the picture. There you go, that's perfect. Look at it. Can you hear that? Oh, that's probably peaking, sorry. Oh, I'm excited. Right, now we need to get to the software part. Right, so we're at the wonderful point where I have plugged it into the computer and I'm using the software as sent along. There's a couple of other steps, but I don't know how they're going to change, so I'm not going to show them to you. It's stuff with the Arduino IDE, but it could change, so I don't want to show that because it might not be the same in the future. But this is his Java executable file. Now, you need to get the Java runtime environment. This machine's not really been on the internet. Pretty much ever, so I had to install it, but you'll see once I've plugged this in, we get this start screen when we load up, and we've got our Arduino Leonardo, which this shows up as, connected. So I'm just going to try and create something with the buttons. So what we get is this WYSIWYG interface where I can drag and drop things in, and that will say what each one of these buttons does. And up here I can select which one it is. So we've got 1, 2, all the way to 12. And I can clear that. I can load it from the clipboard, copy recipe to the clipboard. But let's just try adding, what have we got? What options do we have here? So we've got, so hopefully you can see that now, but we've got move mouse, the keyboard keys. There's a lot of options here. So these are all the sort of special function keys. Special, which is type text, so that could be a sentence, media keys, mouse movement. So you could tell this to move the mouse, or move the mouse to 0, 0, wherever that might be, then move it up a certain number of pixels if you know what the resolution of the screen is. So actually you can do quite complex stuff whilst holding a click, so you could drag and select things. We've got F keys and the number pad. So let's just do type text. I'll click and drag that in. What would we like it to type? Let's see. Hello, I am a cool Kickstarter project. Okay, and then let's try keyboard keys. I want to press enter after that, and then we'll jump down to special again. Let's type some more text. No faux reels. Done. Okay, so recipe name, test, save. Now, saving a recipe will just save the commands assigned to the current button. Saving a layout will save the commands assigned to all 16 buttons. I'm just going to save the recipe. And do I want to do that, or do I want to save the whole thing? Let's see. Save. Save layout. Okay, do I have to save it as a file? That's cool, okay. And so we can load in different layouts. That is clever. Layout 1. Okay, so now we just do upload all changes and that will upload it to the board. That's cool. So I love this feature so that you can save individual things and load them up again. So we can have two different sets of instructions for this. So I could have my Arduino IDE layout, which gives me for loop, if statement, function, and gives me them in skeleton format, which I would then fill in as I'm going. For loops, honestly, I have to look them up almost every time because I forget. And then these could be for, I don't know, simply creating a very quick an array or something so that it's formatted correctly. Perhaps you could have a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional array because they're pretty difficult to format if you get a bit mixed up. Or for Premiere Pro, I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts, which are always 2 presses, or on the keyboard where I'm not looking. And this could be right next to my mouse, which is very cool. What I think I might put on there is some little rubber feet so that it doesn't slide around so much. So let's test it out now it's uploaded. I just want the notepad. Now that's on key 2. Oh, and it turns out it's upside down. So that points towards the computer. I thought it was that way. So key 2 is that one there. So I should have had a return, double return, I think. One at the end of no for reals. That is so cool. So I've been having a bit of a play around. It's really quite fun actually. Not only does this look darn cool, and I love the clicky feedback you get, but there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So there's these special commands of move mouse, and I can move the mouse up here and right click, for example, and that's on number 6. I can also run programs. So on number 2, if I press number 2, it's going to run Notepad for me. And I've put some code in there just so it'll write out an if statement. So if x equals 1, type some stuff here. So I can bung that into the Arduino IDE. So I also put on number 3, it will load up the Arduino IDE for me because, you know, I'm lazy. So it's going to load that up for me. My computer's really slow. And then I can just paste in my, I've loaded up Notepad again. So I think that might be the problem with this, trying to remember what all the code is. So all the buttons are for. So I can just paste in my if statement over and over and over again. And I can create one for loop, whatever. It's really awesome. I love it. It'd be nice if there was a way to assign one of these buttons here for different applications so that you'd reassign these 9 keys maybe. But I do love it. I had a couple of issues with some characters I was trying to plug in, but I sorted those out. So yeah, really, really nice. There's a link to the Kickstarter in the description. I think I've already said that. But I'm loving this. It's great. Well done, Robin. I'd love to know what you think about this in the comments. It'd be really great to hear from you. I think it's really well executed. It looks good. And I think I'm definitely going to use it for using the Arduino IDE and for other things, I think. Do you know what might be really good for this? Video editing. I don't have a specific video editing keyboard. You can get them, but this would be really nice. I think you can get these keycaps that have a clear plastic thing on the front so that you can put some paper behind it, like a little guide as to what the buttons do. So it might be useful doing that. Or you could just get a Sharpie and draw it on, I guess. So I've probably already said thank you to Robin. I'm sure I've said thank you on Twitter, but I've also said thank you earlier in the video, maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, this has been really fun. So again, Kickstarter in the link and in the links below. And yeah, just if you don't want to support it, at least tweet about it or share it. See if any of your friends want to support him. But I think it's a really cool little project. I love the software that came with it. The drag and drop stuff's really useful. And the layout idea where you can upload different profiles to this, incredible. Love that idea, brilliant.